So when we're putting these pieces together, I'm going to do something called a running stitch, and I'm going to go all the way around the perimeter of the body. So I'm going to take these two pieces, one on top of the other, and I'm going to pin them in place. I want to be looking at the at my face and my accessory and things like that. So I'm just going to pin everything in place, and I'm going to start by pinning 2 pins right at the top of the head. I'm going to actually leave this section open to make sure I have room to stuff. And I think I might have said we're doing a running stitch. That is incorrect. We're doing something called an overcast stitch. So again, I'm just pinning these pieces together so that way I have them pretty much secured before I actually start sewing. So I'm going to start here at the top, and I'm going to go all the way around the perimeter doing my overcast stitch. And I'm going to leave this section open so that way I can put everything together. Now, we don't have a ton of colors right now, so I'm actually going to do a different color for the perimeter of my monster. But for your project for the kindergartners, we're going to try and get this as close of a color match to what they have as humanly possible. So I'm actually going to do my perimeter in this light yellow. I also think it'll be easier for you to see in the video. You will need a decent amount of thread for this part of the assignment. So I'm going to get at least a nice big arm's length because we have to go around this entire perimeter. And again, we're going to do our big ugly knot. So I wrap it around my finger, I roll it off, I pull tight. There's my big ugly knot. I'm going to place my thread through the eye of the needle. And I am not double threading this, which means this end without the knot is not like tied in with this part. What I want to do is start on the inside. So I'm going to open up the 2 flaps and I start right on the inside, pull out. So this way the big ugly knot is going to get hidden on the inside. I'm now going to start doing my overcast stitch. So I insert through the 2 pieces, pull nice and tight, and I come up and over. Pull tight, up and over. The trick to a nice overcast stitch is to try and get your stitches as even as possible. And we want to pull it tight enough that everything is going to be secure. Up and over, through, up and over. You'll notice that I'm entering in the same side every single time. Back around to the front, through, pull tight, back around to the front. Now, depending on the monster that you have, this could technically be done the same way we did our pillows or a different sewing project, meaning you would put the 2 right sides together and you would sew it inside out and flip it. But the overcast stitch does create a cute little detail if you like the way that that looks. And some of the different monsters would be really, really tricky to flip inside out. like if you have the monster with the spiky hair, that one would be really difficult to sew inside out and then flip. But it is possible. All right, so we want this to go all the way around. I am going to pause it here because you already know what that looks like, and then I will come back when I'm done and ready to stuff. As you can see, I'm almost all the way around, but I am starting to run out of thread. So I want to stop here and anchor my stitching in place, and then I'll rethread my needle to finish this off. So I'm going to enter in. Okay, so we have that loop. Now I'm going to flip to the back, and what I'm going to do to anchor this off is just go underneath this last stitch here and go underneath right there. And I'm just going to throw a couple knots in place. So I always want to do this on the back so it won't be as noticeable. Ooh, almost lost my thread there. Hang on, I'll show you one more time. So I go underneath my last stitch. Bring the needle through that last stitch and pull nice and tight. So I have just a little knot right over there. And I'm going to trim close to that knot. Okay, so again, yes, you will see a little knot there, but it will be on the back, so it's not going to be super noticeable. So this tiny little bit of thread, I'll rethread my needle, and then I'll finish to the end. So now I've sewn around the entire perimeter, and I'm ready to stuff up my pillow. So I have some polyfill stuffing here. I am actually just leaving this thread here for now, and I put my needle through. I'm going to be very careful as I sew this because I don't want my needle to unthread, and I also want to make sure I don't accidentally poke myself. So carefully and gently, I'm going to stuff up my monster, and I'm going to get some stuffing first all the way down into the legs and the arms and the body. Okay, so he's starting to get all stuffed up. I'll grab a bit more. So again, very carefully, very gently, I'm stuffing up my monster. Gonna get some into the legs, into the arms, into the main body. Obviously, the head is the biggest part of our monster, so that is where we will need the most stuffing. Get into all those corners and crevices. All right. Once you're happy, you will continue your sewing across. If it's really wide like this, we can actually just throw a pin in to help keep this closed as we finish up our sewing. So I'm literally just gonna close it to make my life a little bit easier and throw a pin in. And again, that's just gonna keep that edge closed so I can sew it nice and neat. So I literally just continue doing my overcast stitch. Go through both, up and over, through both, up and over, through both, up and over. Okay, I did it. I am all done with my stitching. I'm ready to anchor this off in place. So I always want to make sure I'm anchoring on the back. I go underneath where my last stitch was. I create that loop. I go through the loop and pull nice and tight. That's knot number 1. I'm going to do this at least 3 times. So through the loop, pull nice and tight. Another way you can do this is you put the needle in and then you take your thread and go around the needle and then you pull tight. That's another way of just like putting it through the loop. Okay, so I pull my knot nice and tight, nice and secure. And then I'm going to take my shears and clip, boop, right there. So again, that knot is on the back, so I'm really not going to see it. And here we have our plushy little monster. I hope my kindergartner really likes this monster. They designed it, they created it. They designed it and you created it for them. So hopefully they have something that they can keep and enjoy. They will get their original design returned as well as the plushie monster. So if you enjoyed doing this, you could maybe try and make one for a little kid in your life, or who knows, maybe you can make one for yourself. Hope you had fun making these.